Have you ever thought to yourself, I really need a 4 terabyte thumb drive? No? Well, stick around and you can find out how easy it can be to make one yourself. Welcome to another video on the channel. Today I'm going to be doing a really quick and easy review of one of my favorite products that I've discovered recently. It's a USB 3.1 Gen 2 drive enclosure, but this one's a little bit special because it's actually an NVMe drive enclosure. We've had external enclosures for a long time that use USB-C, but those have mostly been limited to SATA, and even though you can get a SATA drive in the M.2 form factor, those drives are still limited to 6 gigabits a second, which is the SATA 3 maximum on those controllers. So this review is of the Plugable brand USB 3.1 Gen 2 NVMe external enclosure. As you can see, it's just about as big as it has to be to accommodate an M.2 drive. And this one will accommodate up to a maximum size of a 2280. And to show you just how useful this can be, I'm going to be using one of the largest M.2 drives available on the consumer market, and that's the Sabrent 4 terabyte rocket. Let's get these two unboxed real quick, and then I can show you how easy the Plugable makes it to make your own high capacity USB Type-C external. All right, so here we've got the Plugable box. We're going to do just a quick unboxing. Some paperwork, quick start guide. Not one, but two cables. So you've got USB-C to USB-C, and we've got a USB-C to USB-A, which means whatever kind of computer you have, this will plug into it. This bag contains, looks like some thermal pads. I like this device because it's a totally toolless installation. So you really don't need a screwdriver or anything. There's a quick little release on the back here. We've got a PCB with an M.2, and we've got just a little rubber post right there. Now, because of the drive size that we're using, the 2280 form factor, we're actually going to be using the one that's already installed. But if you're using one of the shorter ones, you have extra posts here, so you don't have to try to rip this one out. All right, now we're going to move on and unbox the Sabrent Rocket 4 terabyte. Oh, looks like mine got a little smashed in transit. We'll have to see how it does. But actually that protective case looks like it stood up just fine. All right, so the drive itself looks fine. No damage. Now this isn't a review of this NVMe drive, because I feel like a review of a hard drive would include things like speed tests, and you're never going to get a full speed out of the Plugable device, because even though USB Type-C 3.1 Gen 2 is really fast, it's still nowhere near as fast as the actual NVMe interface, which takes up 4 full PCI Express lanes. So start at this end, slot the leads into the pins, and then, like I said, this post is rubber, so if you just pull it back a little bit, past your finger, make sure it doesn't go too far in there, and you can see it's a perfect fit right there. If you're installing something permanently into this or for a pretty long time, make sure you apply those thermal pads, because NVMe controllers, if not the chips, can get pretty hot after a while. So once your drive's installed, work it past the retention latch here and just slide it back on. And that's the whole thing. The Plugable enclosure is aluminum. It's got these extra surface area fins for cooling, and it is vented. So it's definitely not like weather resistant or anything. You'll need to keep this safe or covered when you're transporting it. And we've got our single USB Type-C port, and this little hole here is an indicator light. So let's get it plugged in and formatted, and we'll see how it does. Okay, so I'm going to open up Disk Utility, and if it's a disk you've never used before, you'll have to initialize it. Go ahead and do that. Just takes a second. And we're going to select the drive that says Sabrent Media, and we're going to say erase. That's just the way macOS handles it. So let's give it a name so it'll be easy to pick out if we have lots of drives plugged in. Plugable 4 terabyte. Okay. And I'm actually going to pick exFAT. That way I'll be able to take this drive and plug it into a Windows machine, a Linux machine, another Mac, and it won't really matter. So really quick format process, and let's check below. You've got a 4 terabyte external that can fit in your pocket. It's pretty sweet. Now don't pay attention to this 4.1 terabyte number. That's just the way that Mac OS counts space differently. If you plug this into a Windows machine, you'll probably see it say something like 3.7 or 3.71 terabytes. And no, that's not the manufacturer trying to trick you. Engineers in the technology space honestly disagree about how to count the blocks of data on a hard drive. And if you're thinking, whoa, that's crazy, yeah, you're right. It's kind of crazy. So I'll be looking at the actual performance of the Sabrent 4 terabyte rocket in an upcoming video. Make sure you get subscribed and stay tuned for that. I wanted to point out that because the Sabrent drive is such high capacity and it is still pretty expensive, I'm not expecting that most of you who would buy the Plugable or a similar device to put such a high capacity drive in there. For example, I have this 256 gig SK Hynix drive that I pulled out of a Dell that I upgraded recently. 256 gigs over a high-speed interface like NVMe and USB 3.1 Gen 2 is still a really useful option. And since the Plugable retails on its own for only $50 at the time of filming, it can be a great option for taking a part that you already have and making it more usable across multiple systems. As always, thanks so much for watching. I'll drop a link for the Sabrent 4 terabyte, as well as some more reasonably priced M.2 drives, as well as the Plugable down in the description. So make sure you check down below. And on your way down, give this video a like if you enjoyed it. You can subscribe to this channel if you want to see more component reviews, custom PC builds, and generally helpful advice for tech in your life.